Okay, there we go. Now we're all
Okay.
set.
Terrific. Thanks so much.
Uh-oh, hold on just a second. We've got one last element
All
here.
technical stuff. Cool.
Bear with me just another second. I apologize.
No problem.
Um, okay, there we are.
Okay, so we're good?
It looks good on my end.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you. Come on in. Hi, we're watching Judy Dunne, who is from the the U.S. Census Bureau, and she's going to give us a little presentation on using census resources for genealogy research. Thank you.
I was in the wrong.
Well, terrific.
Sorry.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining today's webinar using census resources for genealogy research. I want to thank Elizabeth and the Addison Public Library for coordinating today's training. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Judy Dunne, and I am the Data Dissemination Specialist in DuPage County, Illinois. I work with individuals, organizations, government officials, and others to increase their understanding and ability to access and work with the data the Census Bureau collects. I've been working with the Census Bureau for about 5 years now. I work with the community. I'm a resource. So please save my contact information. If you have questions, I do consultations, trainings, and workshops. And I'd love to hear from you if you have a question that I can assist you with. So I am going to go off camera in a minute now so I can focus on the presentation and use a little bit less bandwidth. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so you can still see my screen. Fabulous. Okay. Today we're going to talk about using census records for genealogy research and the many ways these records can support family history research. During the presentation, we're going to look at finding clues and stories in family history, looking at Census Bureau records, what's actually in a record. We're going to discuss the 72-year rule, accessing your personal census records, mapping and enumeration districts, National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, and other record resources. And then we're going to go live on the NARA website and look for an ancestor by year and ancestor name. But please keep in mind this is a preview of the data available. There are many, many layers to the data and research that are available. I'm going to highlight many of these for you, and I will share some additional on-demand training resources that are available. And I will put some, I do have a chat here, but everybody's in the room. So there will be a copy of the presentation of my slides for you to use after we're finished. I will send them to Elizabeth. She can get them out to you, those who've registered. If you have a question, please let me know. Just please don't include any personally identifying information in today's session as it's while it's being recorded. After the recording's over, we can talk a little more specific. So today we're going to explore how to find your family using census records. But before we dive into the data, we have to ask a fundamental question. What do you already know? Think of genealogy as detective work. It requires piecing together stories, hunting for clues, and interviewing family members. Census records are vital, but they are most powerful when you use them to find specific addresses and enumeration maps. If you haven't considered it before, these maps add a rich geographic layer to your family's story, showing where exactly you and where your ancestors showing exactly where your ancestors stood. Each researcher eventually hits the same question: where do I begin? The best place is often at the dinner table. Think back to the stories your grandparents told or the conversations at family gatherings. These anecdotes, along with old photographs and documents, provide the foundational clues for your research. You might even find that a relative has already started a tree that you can build upon. So we're going to take a dive into the Census Bureau and the records we produce. There are 13 principal federal statistical agencies identified by the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB as it's called. And the United States Census Bureau is the largest of these 13 agencies. While we're best known for the decennial census, or the census of population and housing every 10 years, what many do not know is that we conduct many annual surveys and censuses of households and businesses across the nation each year, including the decennial census, which again is that every 10-year count that ends in years that in the years that end in 0. We also do the American Community Survey, which is data are collected every month of the year, and the Economic Census, which is a quinquennial census, which is collected every 5 years for the reference years ending in 2 and 7. What most people don't realize is that the Census Bureau is responsible for all of the major economic indicators, such as the Consumer Price Index, unemployment rates, housing and construction starts, and many crime and health statistics as well. The reason you don't hear about the census in the mix, or so to speak, is that we are the agency who actually collects the data, and we then turn that data over to the respective federal agency that crunches the numbers and releases the data that everyone has come to love and know. We have a network of field representatives that collect data for all of the surveys and who are in the field knocking on doors all 12 months of the year. The Census Bureau's mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy, and our goal is to provide the best combination of timeliness, significance, quality, and cost for the data we collect and the services we provide. Most people are familiar with that decennial census. It's mandated by the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, which directs that a census or enumeration be taken every 10 years of the United States. The first U.S. Census was in 1790 during the first term of our first president, George Washington. The data is used to appropriate the number of seats each state has in the House of Representatives. The U.S. Census counts each resident of the country and where they live on April 1st, every 10 years, ending in 0. Since the first census in 1790, the U.S. Census Bureau has collected data using a census schedule, also called a questionnaire or form. Between 1790 and 1820, U.S. Marshals conducting the census were responsible for supplying paper and writing in headings related to the questions asked, like name, age, sex, race, etc. In 1830, Congress authorized the printing of uniform schedules for use throughout the United States. The 1940 census included separate questionnaires to count the population and collect housing data. The 1960 and later censuses combined population and housing questions into a single questionnaire, which was mailed to households or completed during a census taker's visit. Between 1970 and 2000, the U.S. Census Bureau used 2 questionnaires. Most households received a short form questionnaire asking a minimum number of questions. A sample of households received a long form questionnaire that included additional questions about the household. The 2010 census had just one questionnaire consisting of 10 questions. The report that's highlighted on the slide over here contains detailed information on the questionnaires and instructions used for each census, plus individual histories of each census. When you start looking at census records, you'll often see mysterious codes, symbols, or scribbled notes in the margins. These aren't just random marks. Every census taker or enumerator followed a strict rule book. These instructions told them how to fill out the forms, how to handle difficult situations, and what specific codes to use for certain answers. Understanding these rules is like having a key to a secret code. A tiny notation next to your ancestor's name might explain a specific detail about their life or why their information was recorded in a certain way. And reading the instructions helps you to see the why behind the data. Census information and records can be an invaluable tool in genealogical research. In addition to basic personal facts, each respondent, basic personal facts for each respondent, census records include detailed information that can help make connections across the generations. A Census Bureau record is a comprehensive report on the population of the country at that point in time. Details can include the name, age, state, or country of birth, parents' birthplaces, year of immigration, street address, marriage status, occupation, value of home and personal belongings, crops grown in an agricultural schedule, or products made in a manufacturing schedule. National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA, is responsible for making records publicly available. The records are available at the National Archive facilities and at many large and public and university libraries. You can start your census records search with only the name of a relative or ancestor and the state where he or she resided. Some notes to keep in mind when working with census records. First of all, each decennial census collected different information based on the needs of the federal government. Therefore, information available will differ from census to census. Census records are an oral history. The information may not have been verified. Names may have been mispronounced and or misspelled incorrectly. Some records may be unreadable because of handwriting. Some individuals may not have been counted. You may not know who provided information about a family because a neighbor may have been used as a proxy and missed individuals. The Soundex is a coding surname or last name index based on the way a surname sounds rather than the way it is spelled. Surnames that sound the same but are spelled differently, like Smith and Smith, have the same code and are filed together. The Soundex coding system was developed so that you can find a surname even though it may not be recorded under it may have been recorded under various spellings. To search a particular surname, you must first work out its code. You must know the full name and state or territory in which he or she lived at the time of the census. It also is helpful to know the full name of the head of the household. Basic Soundex coding rules. Every Soundex code consists of a letter and 3 numbers, such as W252. The letter is always the first letter of the surname. The numbers are assigned to the remaining letters of the surname according to the Soundex guide shown. Zeros are added at the end if necessary to produce a 4-character code. Additional letters are disregarded. So you can see here in the example, Washington is coded W252. The W, the 2 for the S, the 5 for the N, and 2 for the G. The remaining letters are disregarded. Lee, on the other hand, is coded L000. because you've got the L and we don't count the E's. I just thought that was here. There is a Soundex calculator. There's actually several different versions of the Soundex calculator. You can find them on various websites. This is a sample of one from the main genealogy. Actually, I got this right off of NARA's website. They had a link to it, so that's why I posted that here for you. And you would just type in the surname you're looking for, and it will convert it to a Soundex entry if you need one. It's not always necessary to convert it, but something to keep in mind. Have you found your family in a census? Census information and records can be an invaluable tool in genealogical research. In addition to basic personal facts for each respondent, census records include detailed information that can help make connections across generations. This is an example of a census schedule or record. You can see the questions being asked across the top of the page with one line across the page for responses. And I know it's a little blurry, especially on the big screen there, but we'll get into some that are a little better quality in just a bit. But yes, so questions are across the top, and then you've got a line for each respondent going down. A census record provides a lot of useful information for your family history research. This image you see on the screen is just a partial image that I zoomed in on. You get the names of the individuals, the ages, places of birth, marital status, and then the street addresses are recorded as well. I also need to talk about the 72-year rule. This is really important. The U.S. government will not release personally identifiable information about an individual or any other individual or agency until 72 years after it was collected for the decennial census. And the 72-year rule, which is up here, the law is up here, restricts access to the decennial census records to all but the individual named on the record or their legal heir. The National Archives is given authority to release census records to the public 72 years after Census Day. As a result, the 1950 census records were released on April 1st, 2022. So I'm going to walk you through the information for accessing your personal census record that was in the description for this workshop. However, that was done in January, and as of March 4th, the H-Search service is on pause, and new requests are not being processed at this time. But I do want to tell you about it. Individuals may request their own records before they are publicly available via the U.S. Census Bureau's H-Search service. The service provides individual information from censuses that are still protected by the 72-year rule, but only to the named person, his or her heirs, or legal representatives. There is a congressionally mandated fee for this service. The Census Bureau provides the age search service to the public, and we will search those confidential records from the censuses from 1910 through 2010 and issue an official transcript of the results. Individuals can use these transcripts, which may contain information on a person's age, race, sex, state, or country of birth in relationship to the householder, as evidence to qualify for Social Security and other retirement benefits, in making a passport application, to prove relationship in settling estates, in genealogical research, to satisfy other situations where a birth or other certificate may be needed but is not available. As I mentioned, information can only be released to the named person, his or her legal heirs or representatives. For minor children, medically incompetent persons, or deceased persons, it is available with appropriate legal documentation to their legal representative or heirs. And the graphic here, this shows what the certificate would look like. So it is considered an official certified document. This graphic here is showing the current BC 600 application for the search for census records. As I mentioned earlier, the service is paused as of March 4th. It is currently undergoing public review. That's why I want to talk about it, because it is open for public comments through April 24th. So you can go on the regulations.gov and make comments using the Federal Register document number up here, the 2025-0005-0001. And the reason for that is that the Census Bureau is proposing to increase the fee for conducting the age search from $65 to $155. The Census Bureau is also proposing to increase the additional charge for an expedited request, requiring research results within a day, from $20 per case to $50 per case. And these changes are needed to reflect the actual operating cost associated with processing the age search request. This was last revised in 2004. So it's been over 20 years since those fees have been adjusted. But if you have thoughts and comments, please go online and share those. Were there any questions?
No, I was just plugging this in. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. Okay, we're going to move on to mapping and enumeration districts. Maps are one of the many sources you may need to complete a family tree. In genealogical research, maps can provide clues to where our ancestors may have lived and where to look for written records about them, such as county and state records, city or town records, your local library directories, and other resources. So those are all localized records. And so you may need to see the map to see where people have lived. And the link on this page will take you to a PDF resource on using maps in genealogy. It was actually a very interesting piece, so you can download that from this link here. And that link should be live when you get the slides from me. Now let's talk about what are enumeration districts and maps. The enumeration district is an area that could be covered by a single enumerator or census taker in one census period, so in a 2 to 4 week period. Beginning in the 1930s, enumeration districts were identified by a two-part number consisting of a prefix for the county or city designator and a suffix for the district within that county or city. ED boundaries can be defined by counties, cities, townships, wards, roads, railroads, waterways. There's many different ways. The enumeration district did stay within political boundaries, such as the county limits or city limits. ED boundaries and numbers often change from one census to another. So if you're looking for the 1950 enumeration district, and then you go to the 1940 enumeration district, they may have different numbers. Those district maps and descriptions assisted in the administration and data collection activities. The map descriptions are general brief descriptions of the street boundaries, and these districts can vary in size from small city blocks in a densely populated urban area to an entire county in a sparsely populated rural area. So why are enumeration districts helpful to researchers? The census is organized by the enumeration district. Knowing where a person lived and the enumeration district number for that area can help you narrow down your search. Names are often inaccurate. Names might have been misspelled by the census enumerator. We talked about that. And many individuals in the same city have common names. So knowing that number allows a researcher to look up who lived in a specific location without necessarily needing to know a name. Enumeration maps can be used to locate the enumeration district number for a specific location. ED maps were created by the Census Bureau using base maps. And by base maps, they could be anything. There's soil survey maps, state maps, city or county governmental maps. Somebody was saying there were some gas station maps that were used in certain areas, a highway map. So we've become a lot more consistent these days, but it was back before there was a geography department, and those were the maps that were being used. These base maps were annotated using colored pencils or crayons to show the enumeration district numbers and boundaries. It's important to know that you won't find every enumeration district map for every single year or location. A few simple reasons for the gaps. Some maps were lost or accidentally destroyed decades ago before they could be preserved. If a map was in poor condition, it may not have been possible to scan it clearly. Occasionally, a map maybe was missed during a scanning project. So you will find gaps. But even though there are gaps, there are thousands of these maps that have been preserved as high-resolution digital images, and you can find that collection available on the National Archives website. And these digital scans allow you to see the exact boundaries the census taker walked, giving you a literal bird's eye view of your ancestor's neighborhood. So we're going to talk about the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA. And although censuses are a source of genealogical information, the Census Bureau does not provide these data. The National Archives and Record Administration, or NARA, is the nation's record keeper. They permanently preserve federal records and make them available to the public. Examples of federal records are your immigration records, your naturalization, military, land records, and your census records. In a few minutes, we're going to go live on the National Archive website, where we will look at the types of census data available for you to access along with the NARA records. And that URL for those of you online, just https://www.archives.gov/research/genealogy. That will get you to the genealogy page. A couple of other points of interest before we go live. SteveMorris.org. I'm not sure if anybody has been on that site before. It's often called a one-step website. It is a popular free collection of online tools designed to make it much easier to find historical records for genealogy and family history research. The site acts as a kind of a better front door to other databases. So instead of using the clunky search forms on official sites, you can use the Steve's one-step forms to search for those same records more effectively. It's people use it. It's a little more efficient. It combines the search steps. The precision, it allows you to search using a sounds like filter or partial information. It's simplistic. The website looks very old school, mostly text with no ads or flashy graphics, and it's just very straightforward and easy to use. So we're gonna go on to that website as well. And I also have some helpful resources here. I'm not going to go to all of these links, but I wanted to make sure I got an opportunity to talk about them. Our Census.gov Academy, that is it's our learning library at the Census Bureau. It is a collection of video tutorials. Some of them are 5 minutes long. There's a lot of 1-hour webinars. There's a couple of courses in there. There is actually a genealogy course in there. There's also a genealogy webinar in 2023 from a lady who knows a lot more about genealogy. She was fabulous. She's retired now. So I could not have her join us today, but definitely would recommend looking at that. We've also got our National Archives or NARA website. They also have a YouTube learning library of their webinars that have been recorded, which I would suggest you take a look at if you're wanting to get very deep into genealogy. And then the Steve Morse website, Ancestry and Family Search. We are going to go on to Family Search as well. So historical records from the past decennial censuses of the population are the most requested historical information produced by the Census Bureau, but are not available from the Census Bureau. The records from the population censuses that occurred over 72 years ago are passed on to the National Archives and Records Administration, where they are made available to the public. We're going to go there and we're going to do some searches here. We're going to look for a 1950s record and locate a enumeration district map. And then we're also going to go and look at some earlier records. We're going to see how much time we have to go into the other records. So bear with me with just a moment here. We're going to slide over to Google, and you should be able to see the National Archives website now. This is their main page. To get to the genealogy records, we're going to click on Research Our Records. And then you're going to scroll down a little bit and you'll see Research Your Ancestry here. It's down in the second row of tabs. And so we are now looking at the resources for genealogists. And you can see lots of information starting your research, resources available. Here's that genealogy videos on YouTube. Great place to get additional information. We are going to start over here with the census records under popular topics. So I'm going to click on popular topics. And you're going to see a lot of information here about census records. There's going to be kind of an index on the left-hand side with questions, frequently asked questions, along with links to different resources. Here's that Soundex coding system I mentioned, using the microfilm, ordering copies. So you can take some time and look through this page. There is a link right to the 1950 census here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the 1950 census, and that's going to take me to the official website. Now we're going to be looking for a man called Charles C. Shoup Sr., where we're going to begin our search. Now, there are some tips for searching here, and I would take some time to read through them about, searching by name and narrowing your search to help things. You don't have to know the exact spelling, and how to use this, and the built-in transcription feature. So you can actually add names to our site index. And I know that Charles, we're going to look for the last name Shoup, because I know that's his last name. And sometimes you don't want to get too detailed. Let's start with a last name. And he lived in Illinois in 1950. And now we can put in the county, but I know he lived in Cook County. And Cook County is then broken down further by the cities in Cook County because it's such a big county. So I actually am going to scroll down to Oak Park because I know where he lived. So we can see from here, we've got 98 enumeration districts that it's pulled out. Let's see, Cook County, Oak Park. And 1950. I apologize. Oh, this is looking for the district description. I'm so sorry. I was looking for his name and it went straight to enumeration districts. And that's why it's throwing me a little bit. Okay, we are going to begin our search. I'm not looking for I'm looking for the name. Okay, so we're looking at Illinois. My apologies. Every time I do this, it seems a little bit different. And you will have these same challenges as well. And I'm looking for a name. Okay. Now it's given us back results for 526 names, which is still narrowed down, but it's more than we're looking for. We've got Charles Hall. I'm looking for Charles Shoup. And it's matching all of the Charleses here. That's why I wanted to look at just Shoup. Okay, now we've narrowed it down to less than 25. So, and it takes a little trial and error sometimes to find what you're looking for. We have popped up with Shoup Catherine. We have popped up with a Shab, a Shoal, a Shupa, another Shoup, and here's Shoup, and Charles is spelled incorrectly. So when I enter Charles, it's it's just a variation on the spelling. And here you can see under his name, you've got the population schedules as well as that ED map for this time period. 1950 has been will allow you to do it this way, to see both. You can see the enumeration district number. District 108 is for Oak Park. 37 is his area. We'll take a look at the schedule first. I'm going to open that, and actually I'm going to download this so you can see it better. Okay. Now I can make it big. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Good, good. And you can see up at the top, you've got Illinois, Oak Park, you've got the ED number. It's giving you, this is the page number. This is the enumerator who took the census, the date of the sheet, the number of the sheet, so we can keep track. We've got all of the questions here. Here's the house number along with the street here. They lived on Harvey Avenue. All of the different questions, the names of the people in the household. Were they on a farm? How old are they? How they are related? What state or foreign country were they born in? Did they work? What were their jobs? What kind of industry were they in? And these are our private codes. Remember I talked about the instructions, so knowing what these codes are. I did not pull that up for this census, but if that's something you're interested in finding out what those codings are, you need to take a look at the instructions. But I want to show you a little bit more about Charles and his family here. That was their address. They are listed. Here's Charles C., Margaret. Here's Marguerite. Charles C. Jr., and then there's a David L. son. There's also, and it took me a moment to realize, Richard Phelan was also in this household. He is under the 170. And it's one of the stories I remember hearing is they had a lodger. And so here is their lodger. I knew him by Dick. And he resided there. They were all born in Illinois, except for David, who is 9 years old, who was born in Kentucky. So when I go back to 1940, I'm not going to be looking in Illinois because their youngest son was born 9 years ago in Kentucky. So I'm going to start in Kentucky on that part of the search. You can see he was an accountant for manufacturing of x-ray equipment. The lodger was working, and he worked for the U.S. Treasury. Now, what's interesting about Mr. Phelan here is that he is on line number 8, which is a special line. And you'll see that sometimes those are surveys. They get extra questions that are going to be at the bottom here. So we're going to scroll down to, here's line 8. And his answers to these additional questions. Was he living in the same house a year ago? Was he living on a farm a year ago? Was he living in the same county a year ago? Where were his mother and father born? So his parents were born in the U.S. What was his highest level of school? He did 1 year of college and didn't finish. He's over 30, so he didn't go to school. He worked full time, made $6,400 that year in 1949. And he served in World War II. Maybe that's why he didn't finish college. So there's definitely a lot of information here, along with some other information at the bottom on the coding that you can ascertain just by looking at one page of an ancestor's record. Now I want to go back to this page on the NARA website because you can see the ED map is also linked here. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm actually also going to download this so that we can make it larger. Okay. And when we look at this map here, this is a map of Oak Park, nice and rectangular for viewing. And we can see the different, everything in here is numbered 108-something else. So this is the enumeration district. And we can take a look at the enumeration map of this area. And you can see where the map of Oak Park, Cook County, Illinois, from the state of Illinois provided that map. And we can look, Harvey was over in this area. He is in 108, section 37. So you can see the street here, Harvey, his number would have been in this block here. So we can visualize where those addresses are so you can get a layout of how our enumerators walk that district, what your ancestors' lives might have looked like living in that area. So there's a lot of helpful information available by pulling those maps. Now, there's another way to do that as well. We can go over to the resources. And if you wanted to, there are questions, there's forms, instructions for the enumerators and public are here. Finding aids frequently asked questions. So there's a lot of extra information. I'm going to go back. Let's see if it can get me back without starting a new tab. Okay. Sometimes it makes me start over. I want to go back to the 1950 census, and I want to make sure I'm being cognizant of the time. You can also go into the resource tab, the blue tab here, if you don't know the name, okay, it did bring me to the same spot. And look for those enumeration district maps. And going through the National Archives catalog to do that. And then I would want to go ahead and put in, we want to search within the series here. And you can look for those maps and charts. We want to look for what's available online. And you can see how they are filed. I'm going to put in 1950 enumeration district, Oak Park, Cook County, Illinois. So say I didn't have a name or I didn't have a specific address. I could do it this way. And it's reduced this down to 19 results. And I can scroll through here. It pulled up everything for Cook County. And see, I can find that 19 enumeration district map. So I'm not going through the individual. I'm going straight for the map. So that's another way to find that. And I want to make sure we get to going to a 1940 census. Let's, okay. I'm going to open a new one. Okay. You're going to see all of these frequently asked questions or links to 1940, 1930. Not everything is as searchable as 1950. We'll put it that way. 1940 is a little bit easier. 1930 is on microfiche. So you can't just link to it from here. You would need to look for microfiche, or you can link for it to it through a third party. And that's what I wanted to show you, some of these different pieces here. You can get to those enumeration districts. Those are enrolls. These are looking at the catalog numbers. Okay. And I want to look for, let me go back a page. (1940). So those enumeration district maps, you can look for those. You get your forms. I want to take this through another, through the Steve Morse website. And that's the other one I mentioned, stevemorse.org. And again, it's very plain looking site, but it's a very powerful site and it's free to use. You just scroll down to US Census records. And we want to look for, they've got lots of information here. They've got some tutorials. We want to look at finding an enumeration district for a census. So I want to look for 1940 in Kentucky and see where my relative was living before they were in Oak Park. So I clicked on that tool for the Unified Census ED Finder, and it automatically loads to 1950. I've learned this the hard way. You need to go up to the top here and tell it you want 1940. And I was able to actually locate an address in Kentucky. That was their home. Okay, please stand by. Is it doing that? Okay. They were in Jefferson County. I actually found his military registration card with his address in Louisville, Kentucky. Not in Alabama, we are in Kentucky. And you can see all of the enumeration districts that it's finding in Louisville, Kentucky for 1940. Okay, the house number, I'm going to go ahead and put that in here, 2218. And we're going to put a street in, Talbot. So I can find now, it narrowed him down to this enumeration district 12142. And I clicked on that. It's going to tell you what roll of film it's on. But it also, so you could go directly to that if you wanted to go find that at NARA, or you can view it directly here from Family Search or Ancestry. Family Search is the free resource I told you about, so I'm going to click on the free resource. And you can see it's pulled up that roll of film now, and we could scroll through all of the names. I know he is on image 2 for the sake of time. And I can find he's right here's Charles, Margaret, and Charles Jr. David was not born yet. So I'm going to download this record here for you. Because I want you to see the difference now. This is 1940, Jefferson County, Kentucky. You can see he's in Ward 2, Block 37. You can see who filled out the form. And then his record is here. It was done on April 3rd. And they were all born in Illinois, Chicago Cook, Illinois. So it gives you a lot of information. Now, that he was not on any of those special lines that have additional information, but you can always take a look at that information, the additional questions that were asked. We're right at 2 o'clock right now. I'd love to take some questions while we have the opportunity. Let me come back on camera here. Do we have any questions that I can answer or, help with anything?
I actually have two. You hear me?
Okay.
Okay, my first one is the microfiche thing. It sounds like the National Archives hasn't recorded it online, but the Ancestry has copied it. Is that true?
It's available through Ancestry and through Family Search. NARA, let me get a fresh one. They don't like going back on things. Their microfiche is available at the libraries and from select regional libraries. Like the 1930, I think I was reading it. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Buyer view. Is available for viewing on microfilm at the National Archives building and at our regional facilities. It's not at the presidential libraries. Those other resources have actually paid people to do that. The federal government doesn't necessarily have the people to, while it's been microfilmed, to do the translation to put it online. So I'm not an expert at NARA, so that is as closest to an answer as I can get for you. I mean, there are regional facilities that you can go to view it. National Archives, Washington, the record centers, Maryland, Georgia, Chicago. You could go down to the National Archives in Chicago.
And they have the same copies that are at every federal record center?
I believe so. I would check with them maybe first.
Okay.
Things have changed in the federal government in the last few years, so I would check first before making a trip down there.
And then my second question was on Soundex, the calculator,
Mm-hmm.
does it apply to first names as well? So it's like
It's to last names.
only last names.
Yes, and I can go there. Let me show you where the Soundex is. And actually, I am not, it's very big in the southern states. I am not 100% sure how much of Illinois is in the Soundex. Again, I'm not necessarily a genealogy expert. I can answer your census questions. But here's the Soundex coding system, basic rules, some additional rules. And then there is the link to that calculator. And it's just a free resource. You just click that and it will take you over to their site, and you can put whatever last name in, and it will automatically generate that coding for you.
Yeah, I figured that. I just wondered if it applied to first names too. Because
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because if you
Okay.
take a name like Ladislaw, it
It would be
That's a
helpful.
good example of what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the first name. All right,
Great.
those are my two.
Do you have any questions?
So if I just have a last name of, let's say, a great great grandmother, I mean, I have her full name. And I want to try to trace my lineage from her to me.
Uh-huh.
And I know you just said you're not a genealogy person, so I don't know if you.
Well, I can help a little bit. I know we're still being recorded, so maybe we want to
Oh, yeah.
end things, and then we can maybe dive into that a little bit more. Well,
Yeah, I had a quick question, just not to interrupt, but before we closed up. So can some of these census records be utilized to do house history? Can you search by address?
You can find those enumeration district, yes, and find
Okay, and so do it that
right.
way.
When I
Okay.
was in the Stephen Morse,
Yeah,
it let me put the address in. So
That's
this is
what
one
I-
of the things. It makes things simple. It looks like it's this looks like it's a very old system, but it works.
okay.
It allowed me to get the maps for Jefferson County. There's interactive maps linked to this. So it let me look up a particular address, and I found this a really helpful resource.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, because that would brought up those interesting thoughts. So I was like, wait, you could use this for this. So thank you.
Right. There's a lot of different ways. And the more you learn about genealogy, the more, another layer you pull off that onion, but there's always a new layer to learn. And there's always, we were talking about, there's always a new ancestor to research. And I'm going to Ireland and in the fall, and I want to research that side of the family before I get there. So I know, what to look for when I'm there. So, it's all, there's just, every year will bring you something new to take a look at. So I hope you've found this very helpful. I want to just share again, I'm with the Data Dissemination and Training Branch. We bring our experts out to you. So if you have a need for other census information, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know. We have trainings, virtual trainings. I sent you that link earlier. I will also send out a link to our training evaluation. That is we just like getting some feedback of how we're doing. The Census Bureau measures absolutely everything, and they want to hear your thoughts on today's presentation.
Well, thanks.
And again, my contact information is here should you need it. Please feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and I'll do my best to help you find what you're looking for.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate all of your great information. And I am going to turn off the recording here and we can address our other question. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks
you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then we had another question. I'm going to go back to here. Okay. What was the other question you had about your ancestor?
Oh, I think I just lost you. Bear with me just a second.
Oh, okay.
Every time I try to end the recording, I end up.
Thank you.
Oh, it's still recording. It is still recording.
I see.
Good luck with it.
Thank you. Okay. Now we stop